free, you're tired, you're poor, your heart of masses yearning to breathe free.
My father and mother came steerage class from Russia. They couldn't afford the extra $7.50 per person for a cabin. Cabin class passengers didn't have to go to Ellis Island. My parents did, worried sick that something would go wrong and they'd be sent away. Every member of the family underwent a physical exam, and failure meant return. It was here that husbands, or wives, or children could be sent to the stairway of separation, the stairs leading to the holding room and exile from America. My father remembered having a name tag pinned to his clothes that he couldn't read. He spent 4 days on Ellis Island and considered himself lucky because some people were there for 2 months waiting for clearance. There was always a frightening rumor passed in a dozen languages that something had gone wrong, that none of them would be allowed to enter. Millions of American families treasure the stories of father and grandfather's arrival at Ellis Island. Each has an anecdote lovingly retold as a way of saying, that's where we started. Look how far we've come.
I lived my life, I lived my life, my life beside the
They went to the Lower East Side of New York. For most immigrants, that was the first taste of America. The sounds and smell bring it all back to me. The mass of people. In every crowded, dingy apartment, there was always an extra room for newcomers. As many as 8 or 10 people undergoing the sudden transition to America. The first word my folks learned was greenhorn. Don't be a greenhorn, they were told. Be American. And that meant getting American clothes and getting them at a price. Money was the essential ingredient that they didn't have. Hope? Yes. Dreams? Of course. But money? No.
Hey, как живешь? Слушай, товарищ! Hey, Swirlov! Слушай! How are you?
Shopping the crowded streets for the essentials of living was an occupation. My mother walked miles to save a penny. That's how life was measured, in pennies. And the money ethic remains. Even now, strident bargaining colors the sights and sounds of the Lower East Side.
You want to, you speak English? No. Tell him that I got a cheaper one if it was.
How much you pay? Do you pay $7.50 for one? You pay this. Yeah. One head you pay $7.50.
Go inside. Go inside.
Forget about this for 2.5. No, I can't have it. I don't have it myself. I don't have it myself for 2.5. I'd be gladly give it to you.
Come on.
No. I'll give you all. We have all sizes.
We didn't live in a melting pot. It was more a mixing bowl, where for the first time, we could see the ways of life practiced by peoples of 100 different nations and learn from them. But the immigrant's first stop was his own ghetto, where language and background were familiar.
Yeah, no problem. And then the boy, you know, the bacon.
Sì.
Then I go to the fabbrica.
Sì, sì. Mezzo pon di dolce, mezzo pon di
Our fathers took any job. No work was too tough. They were sure that in America, if you worked hard, you would succeed. We never understood that all the hard work wasn't just for money. What my parents wanted was to give their children a chance.
He said he just wanted me to learn a trade, so that later on, if you have nothing else to do, that you can always fall back to your trade. And I guess I never left. I got to like it, and my brother and I, now that my father passed on, we have a nice little business, and people are wonderful, they're nice. Because I guess the warmth of the Italian people here in Little Italy, now it's a little changing that the people are, I guess their children now are getting married and they move out of this section, but they usually make a visit every once in a while.
Mamie Epstein's father worked the sweatshops of the Lower East Side so that he could have enough money to bring his family to America. Born here, Mamie grew up between the two worlds of the old immigrant and the new American. Like all of those who left for better places, the hardships of her early years in the tenement are remembered with a sense of pride.
The fire escapes are different. I was able to sleep on those fire escapes. I wouldn't be able to sleep on these fire escapes. Same stone step. Well, living here, I didn't know anything. I always looked forward to living in a better place, because I did visit people living in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, my cousins, and they always had the bathroom in the house, and here we had the bathroom out in the hallway, and we had the bathtub in the kitchen and a little sink, a little porcelain sink to wash every morning. That's just what we would use. And when I go visiting, I visit my cousins in Brownsville, and when I go, Brownsville, by the way, was a beautiful place to live. And when I visited my cousins in the Bronx, and they all lived in these beautiful houses. No, to me it was beautiful. They had rooms that the entrance was nice and clean and wide, and they had a privacy. Our rooms weren't private. They were just rooms that were separated by a couple of boards, by walls that didn't mean anything. You went from one little, there was no closet space. You had maybe one little tiny closet, and everything else hung on walls covered with clothing.
The immigrant way was a family way. Family was the trust. Family was the doctor, the places of security, the sources of warmth.
And we had a very close home life. Maybe that's why we didn't worry too much or think too much about our comforts.
The language, the ritual and custom of the old world were part of growing up. We were the new Americans, and we were a little embarrassed by the old ways of our parents. What we didn't realize was that was the only tradition they had. Go learn a new way of life, they said. But remember, there are good things too in the world we come from.
But there's a certain time when everybody's permitted to pick up the leket and take it for himself. When is that?
The respect for the past is carried in Mamie Epstein's family to her son.
So there's a difference of opinion on this. Rav Yochanan, Sove de Ozle Atigra. What does that mean? Sove de Ozle Atigra.
The wages were 25 cents a day, but survival depended on the children working. We'll get our feet on the ground, their parents would say, and then, Kinder, children, you will go to school. Education, the magic golden world of education. Nowhere are the hopes of our parents so clearly crystallized as in the drive to have their children go to school. And no matter what else, how poor, how hard a life, their children would learn to read and write and succeed as Americans. I remember coming home from school with my report card and handing it to my mother. She had to sign it. All she knew was to make an X. Later, much later, I taught her to sign her name, Bryna, B-R-Y-N-A. How proud she was, and she was a good student. She practiced all the time. I grew up on a street with friends named Izzy, Stosh, Ginka, Yahoo, and that was another school. That was a school where the ways of America could be learned for better or worse. The Lower East Side was a family, a neighborhood, a world, a universe.
This was my mother's shopping area, and this is where I continue shopping. Because I know these people, and it's like I'm in a little town. I walk into these people, it's hello Mamie, and it's hello Henry, and it's hello also Mrs. Epstein, and it's very Hamish. In other words, it's very homey and very comfortable. Whatever I ask for, I get. I think I may need, give me some tangerine. Oh, they're soft, Henry.
I got one.
You have some firm ones?
Don't
give
worry.
me some firm
We have
tangerine.
for you. First, let me give you the Idaho potatoes.
Yeah. Oh, well, my mother and father were very proud of my brother, the dentist. Oh, they were so proud of him. And of course, Mamie, the teacher. Oh, that's without saying. They would talk my daughter, the teacher, you know. And then she said she knows Hebrew and she can play the piano. She always discussed. That's what she discussed. Always would discuss our accomplishments. I have a teacher. Her name is Mrs. Epstein. All right, boys and girls, who does not have a pencil? German? Do you have one? If you haven't any pencils, come up to me. Lois, didn't you bring your pencil? Does anyone have a pencil? All right, now, who would like
Mamie Epstein remains resident in the Lower East Side in a good building with clean halls and separate rooms. That was part of the dream, and she has succeeded. She has fulfilled the vision of her mother and father in the life she fashioned for herself. It's better than theirs. That's what they hoped for their daughter. And her celebration of the Sabbath is a tribute to their gift. Holiday celebrations, births, marriages, deaths are events that make us recall our past. They are the ways in which we affirm our other identity as immigrant children. For Jenny Lou, Chinese New Year's is a frightening firecracker.
Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong.
Jenny Lou is 8. She attends PS 42 on the Lower East Side, the same school where Mrs. Epstein teaches. But Jenny's education ranges far beyond the classroom. The sidewalks of the city play their part in the Americanization of Jenny.
It's a meat market, isn't it?
The Irish first occupied the houses. As they prospered, the Irish left the tenements to the Italians, the Jews, the Poles, and the Russians that followed. As each succeeding generation of immigrants arrived, They look with awe and admiration at those who had come just before. For Jenny, it's a strange and colorful world.
Dry fruits, nuts,
Spices.
spices.
These are the things we can buy in this store. Let's take a look at them.
With Jenny, the promise comes full circle. Even now, the amalgam of heritage, environment, and opportunity have begun to take. Whatever else she becomes, Jenny will fulfill the hopes of the Pilgrims, the Adams, the Jones, the DeSantis, the Epsteins, and all the others who knew that it could happen. Be warned, wrote a newly arrived British farmer in 1650, the soil of New England is more rock than earth. From the letters of a French army officer, the Louisiana climate is villainous, the mosquitoes numerous. Welshman Joseph taught, the land is not worth having, even if you got it for nothing. Despite the warnings, new immigrants came.
Bring us the man for freedom's gift. Here is a land in which to plant a family strong and life anew.
Immigrants brought the will to succeed, and a nation was built out of their individual accomplishments. Peter Cooper produced a wrought iron I-beam in Trenton in 1860 and changed the structure of American cities. One man and one idea, but there were thousands of others. Einstein, Edison, Ford, Firestone, Whitney, and Fulton made their famous contributions. But there was also the illiterate Pennsylvania frontiersman who designed a hunting rifle that helped win the Revolutionary War. The Colt revolver opened the West. Glidden's barbed wire closed it. And the little things in life. Orlando Tompkins, a druggist in Boston, invented the soda pop machine. And in 1893, T.H. Lippincott patented the front-tilting syrup jar. The porcelain bathtub, the gas stove, the mail chute, the automatic sprinkler, all landmarks of individual achievement, ideas that made our lives richer. When I see the handcraft on houses and buildings, I think of Lithuanian carpenters and Italian masons and all the others who left their marks. The scrolls and designs are the poignant legacy of unknown stonecutters and wood carvers, and maybe these are the truly great monuments. In old family homes weathered by time, we can find another story of America. It's there in personal records, dusty articles, and treasured pictures. I don't know their names, but I think I know their dreams. Somehow, looking at them, I can begin to sense how peasant farmers and common laborers became the pathfinders and builders of the greatest nation yet created.
Oh, family strong and life anew.
The canals and railroads built largely by the Irish immigrants of the 1840s and 50s are almost relics of the past. And the mines that lured the Poles and Serbs and Germans are often deserted skeletons. But the spirit remains, a tangible bequest of our forebears. We don't know their specific dreams or individual achievements, but in their expressions is the mark of a new spirit. They called it store, and that was all it took to explain why they were there. Store gives us a glimmering of their individual pride. William Davis had pride in the name of his shop. The Butchers were traveling photographers. J.W. Bates proudly placed his name in the Utica directory in 1839, advertising his sleighs and sulkies. 9th generation in business. Wherever a need appeared, someone filled it. The individual pride of achievement is the mark of America. One of the things that my mother always said was, America, such a wonderful land. Whenever something important happened in my life or career, I'd call her, and she always said the same thing. America, such a wonderful land. One day I came home for a visit, and of course she brought me around to meet all her friends. And somehow she always brought up into the conversation, you know, my son, his name is up in lights. I said, Ma, someday your name can be in lights. She laughed, but one day, about a year later, I brought her up to Broadway, took her out of the limousine, and pointed to a marquee above a movie theater. There in big lights, Bryna presents Spartacus. I said, look, Ma, B-R-Y-N-A. And of course, all my mother could say was, ah, America, such a wonderful land. In the beginning of every American family, we find people who had a clear view of themselves and their hopes. They were the immigrants. We are their sons and daughters, and we have been witness to a miracle. Somehow, the mixtures of heredity, opportunity, and individual desire came together and fashioned a great nation. We have realized the immigrant dream, that here they would stake their futures so that their children would have a better life. It's an American idea, and it's working.